Okay, so this is going to be a quick tutorial for InDesign. It's going to be pretty basic. So I just opened it up and I'm going to start a new document. Mine is just going to be 4 pages. It's going to be facing pages. Okay, the points, it's set up. Okay, so it says letter, which that means 8.5 by 11, so standard printer paper size. It's shown here in points, which is how InDesign works. But I know because of this, I can come here and change the size. You could do a custom size if you wanted, but I'm just going to stick with the 8.5 by 11, and here it's vertical, not horizontal, and they're facing each other. So that's a good place to start. So I'll go ahead and start with that. I'm gonna zoom out a little bit so you can see this is my cover. My 2 pages that are facing each other, and then my back cover. So if I want to look at my pages from a smaller point of view, or if I wanted to add or delete pages, I could come and do it here. So I click on the page where I want to add from that point. So I just clicked that twice, and now I have a couple of more pages. So something to note about InDesign is you kind of need to have your files in a specific place. InDesign is different than Photoshop. It's usually, because they're larger files, it's drawing from images from a certain place that is kind of kept outside of the program itself. So when you open the program, it's referencing to a specific folder where the files are kept. So I'm going to make my folder right now. I'll just call this Demi Characters. And these are the files I want, so I'm going to put them here so that my InDesign file will know where to draw them from. And a place you can check on that is actually right here where it says no errors. If the program can't find your images, this little dot will be red, and it will let you know that it's not working. So here are, so another thing is you can't just drag in. Let's see what happens if I drag in a photo. Okay, so I could do it like that. I don't like to, but I'm going to. Okay. So this isn't the way that I liked it. So I'm just going to delete that. So you can do it that way if you want. What I prefer is to make my own box and then drag my image in and manually shift it around. So something important to know is these 2 arrows act differently. So this arrow, what is this called? Oh, it's not telling me. So this black arrow, this will control this outer box outline. And then this arrow, the direct selection tool, will allow me to adjust whatever is inside of that box, which is cool because then I can make this image, do whatever I want it to, and it can be in or outside of the box, and you only see where that box is. I'll maybe explain that a little bit better. Okay, I wanted to make sure that I pressed shift. So this is going to be my cover. I'll get rid of that white outline. Okay. I want to make sure everything fits in. That looks pretty good. Also, this is something you can control. Right now it's doing typical, you could do fast display. That means it's showing that it looks kind of fuzzy, but that's just to save the program time so that it doesn't have to use as much energy. But if you want to see what it looks like at a high quality, then it will show you this is what it will look like when you export your file. So even though it kind of was looking like a fuzzy image, it's actually looking pretty clear. Okay, I'm going to create more boxes. So I use this one here with the X to put my images. So I'm going to have an image that takes up the whole spread. Here's one of my characters. Again, I'm going to adjust. Actually, this is pretty well fit into the landscape because I had already set this image at 8.5 by 11. So this is going to be pretty easy to put this file together. But you do want to be careful that you're doing things with precision and making sure that everything fits where it needs to. If you want to add text, you can create a text box. And actually, InDesign is more of a graphic design program, so it actually is one of the better programs to work with type. So let's say I put in my character bio and put a bunch of information, blah, blah, blah. You can go in and change the font size, change the type of font that it is right here, do something kind of fancy. So those are some things that you can add in and kind of spend a little bit more time on the type if you want. I actually don't need this, so I'm just going to delete it. Then I'll add my back cover. Okay, this needs to be shrunk down, so I'm making sure to press Shift so that it sizes down in the correct proportions. Okay, that's looking better. So now that I have my file set up, just kind of looking through, there's no errors. So now what I will do is I'll save it, come up with my name. So notice where it's being saved. Usually my InDesign likes to go to the documents folder, but you can change it to desktop or wherever you want to save it. So yeah, that's good. So make sure it's saved. And then what that does, I'll show you in my documents where that was saved. Okay, so this has created an InDesign file. So this is not actually the PDF, what I just made when I saved it. This is more saving just this here in the program as these files within the InDesign program. So if I actually want to export a PDF, I need to come to File, Export, and it's going to save as a PDF, and I'll save it here to the desktop. And then once you do that, it's going to give you a few options. So if you click here on pages, it's going to save it as individual pages and not spreads. So that means each page would be a single page. So if I want these images to be read as spreads, I need to make sure that spreads is selected. I think everything else I usually do pretty, I I just leave it to what the default settings are. It says high, you could go to maximum if you wanted really high resolution. This is at 144. I think we've talked about 300 is a good number for printing. If it's going to go online, then 144 is probably fine. But I'll just put it at 300 for now. I'm going to press OK, and it's going to create my PDF file. This is not very large, so it didn't take very long time. But here is my final file. Have my spreads and my front and back page.